Imagination, the unpredictable, the surprise, the novelty, the curiosity. She never knows what's coming back. And passion is commensurate with the amount of uncertainty that you can tolerate. There's plenty of uncertainty in cyberspace. However, we don't want that uncertainty in the comforts of our homes. We're willing to have it on the margins of it. It's risky, it's playful, it's suggestive, since you can't really do it and see it. You can only imagine it and be suggestive, which is a core ingredient of the erotic. It's transgressive. She's doing it behind the back of her husband. And when you have transgression in sex, you know that it is sex that is rooted in desire, because you know that you're not doing what you're supposed to do, but exactly what you want. Nothing like breaking the rules to experience desire and the freedom and the autonomy that comes with it. It links to anticipation, because you can look forward to it, whereas in many committed relationships, sex is a foregone conclusion. And so you don't always want to do it, because in order to want sex, it needs to be sex that is worth wanting. And it is often not nearly as worth wanting as you have it with your online partner. It's seductive. It gives you a sense of aliveness, which is the key definition of eroticism. Vibrancy, vitality, aliveness. Not just the narrow definition of sex, but much more the mystical meaning thereof. And it is often forbidden. So also, we apply less of the traditional restrictions when we are having online sex, or online connections for that matter. Why? Because we have the unique ability to experience at the same time privacy, given that we can create our profile and keep away what we don't want to share, which in and of itself leads us to have more openness. And to have at the same time more privacy and more openness without the conflict that we usually experience is quite unique. It then leads us to the whole concept of fluidity, which I don't think needs to be said so much about. But what it means is that relationships, offline, marital or long-term or family relationships, in order to survive, will also have to become more fluid. And that means that they will have to be able to incorporate more meaningful relationships that are not on the inside, which has led to a very new concept, which is today emotional infidelity, which tells us how much of the online relationships is actually an emotional attachment, far more sometimes than just a sexual attachment. Then comes the concept of affairs. There is nothing that is threatening sexual exclusiveness more than cyberspace and online relationships. It is linking us to what is going to be called the new monogamy, because it's going to force every couple to redefine its boundaries. And there is no couple without boundaries. There is no couple that doesn't live in the shadow of betrayal, of the violation of these boundaries. And all that the cyberspace does is push these boundaries further. But the threat to our absolute uniqueness, and feeling somewhat irreplaceable, is still a key idea in love. And that threat of being replaced by multiple others will need to be addressed by committed relationships that are going to want at the same time to still give us security and anchoring and grounding and long-term continuity, but also respect the values of individual fulfillment, diversity, sex as leisure, and the notion that the sexual satisfaction and fulfillment is today a central experience of life. So cyberspace is a place where we are addressing the crisis of desire. A generation of people, post-contraception, post-60s, premarital sex in hand, the permission to do everything they want and no desire to do it, at least not with the partner that they're living with. And they don't know why. And so the imaginative world of the online and the virtual is becoming an answer to the crisis of desire, not just the crisis of connection. Until now, what people did was proclaimed adultery and clandestine infidelity. That was the model. What is changing today is couples who will need to integrate the knowledge that their partners are having sometimes flirtatious relationships online, and sometimes actually relationships where they are more intimate than with the person that they are living with. Because it takes time to write. This woman is spending more time with her lover online, or the man she is becoming to experience as a lover online, than probably with her own partner. However, she says something very important. We know that most adulterers actually live in happy relationships. It is not the dissatisfaction of the relationship itself that leads us to look for other relationships. It is the fact that we have compiled too many needs in one relationship that is creating a model of a segmented relationship in which some things we will meet in offline, in real life, and other things we will meet in our other real life, which is online. And in some way, it actually brings us back to a model pre-romantic, when things were fairly divided and quite clear, not just in roles, but between the daily and the extraordinary, between the ordinary and the transcendent. The other thing is that love online doesn't have a stable narrative with a beginning and an end. It lacks a unitary structure, and in that it becomes a never-ending quest. For some people, it is massively exciting. For others, it brings a new sense of anxiety, because in some way, you are experiencing the uncertainty that keeps you engaged. There is nothing like insecurity to experience excitement, but there is nothing like insecurity to experience anxiety. It goes in both directions. It also will lead to a number of new emotional intimacies that are, in many ways, not physicalized, not embodied. So two fictitious people create a real relationships in which the emotions that they feel are as intense as real, and often more real than the person that is actually physically next to them. Because one of the crises of desire in a long-term relationship is the crisis of imagination. People go outside not to find another person, but to find another self. And it's not always their partner that they seek to leave, but who they have become. And to reinvent themselves, to reconnect with lost parts of themselves, to create that new sense of aliveness is often what affairs are about. It is a quest that is linked to loss. And I think the word loss is not often used when we are looking at love online, that people have lost something that they're trying to regain, and they can sometimes not regain it in the family. Family is often a place where people felt oppressed, where they couldn't be playful, where they couldn't be free, where they often were traumatized and violated. And when they go online, they are in much greater control over their reality and their sense of agency, romantic agency. At the same time, done. And so my last sentence would be, all of this said, any revolution often brings a new form to an old need, and the need to connect, the need to experience a safe connection, relationship with another human being is intrinsic to survival. It is wired into us. So what we're experiencing today with cyberspace is another space in which people are trying to meet one of their fundamental human needs, actually two fundamental human needs, the need for security and the need for adventure, the need for connection and the need for freedom. Thank you.